And bam. Hi. You can probably see me now. If you can, please write in the chat something if anyone's here. Is anyone here? Concurrent viewers 1, so somebody's here. Can you see me? Can I see myself? I have no idea. So, Xfce GSoC. Yes, I am actually live. Okay. So if I write anything, use a stream bitrate of 4,500 kbps. Okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting warning right there. You can, yeah, hi. Okay, now everything is awesome. Let's send the stream to somebody. Let's see. Let's close the sound. Is this actually working? Ooh, the quality is awful. High definition. Oh yeah, that's great. Okay, now that's amazing. Okay. Let me send the link to, and we are live. Please tell me if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me? I'll have to edit all this out when I upload the video. Hi, yes, great. Hello, Amrit. Is that right? Did I pronounce it correctly? I have no idea. So you're the only viewer right now. Let's wait for at least like two people to come. Yes. Okay. Now, the goal of this is to talk a little bit about the Google Summer of Code projects and take a look around the code bases, mainly Thunar. We will also take a look at Xfce for terminal. And I will give you some hints and directions for solving the newcomer issues that I marked. We should probably not be here right now, but what can you do? Yes, how am I supposed to see the chat while I'm doing that? I have no... Hi! Hello, Yogis, probably. I don't know if I will pronounce your names incorrectly, and I'm very sorry for that. Can you also hear me, Yogis? Yes, no, maybe so. Oh, you're further away in the past, right? I am in the future, right? So I should probably wait a bit for you to respond. Yeah, I should have probably changed the... No, this is not it. What's that? No idea. Okay, yeah, well, you will ask me your questions and we will have a small delay, but what can you do, really? So let's start, probably, since this is also being recorded, so there's like nobody will lose anything, really. So let's begin. I am Xfce GSoC. I am an Xfce contributor. I've been a Google Summer of Code student participant 2 times, one for MuseCore and one for Xfce, and now I am one of the mentors for Xfce. So the goal of this live stream is to discuss the Google Summer of Code projects, so you can ask any questions you want, and take a look at these newcomer issues that I marked, so you get your feet wet and start contributing code to Xfce. Let's look at the comments. Yeah, even more people, 5 concurrent viewers. This is great. So, let's start with the proposals, let's say. So, some of you have wondered if the proposals have a limit, or what should there be in a proposal, what should you write in a proposal, and stuff like that. Well, we don't have like a template. You can use template from other organizations, like MuseScore has a template, or you can use something like this. Google Summer of Code guides. There are proposal examples. So we want your proposal to have a description or an abstract where you describe the problem and the goal of your project, if it's not a problem, and the new feature. Then discuss a little bit about the implementation, not necessarily details, because you will have like months to actually deal with the details, but you need to show that you have an idea or a good grasp of the issue and a general idea of how to solve it, and like your design ideas, stuff like I want this like that, I want a preference that does that. So we can discuss that because you will first submit your proposals as drafts, and we will be able to give you feedback, and it would be great if you did that as early as possible so we can provide you with as much feedback as possible. And then you also need to have a timeline like this one right here. Do tell me if you can read what's on screen or if I need to zoom in. In the timeline, this year the Google Summer of Code is a little bit more flexible, so you can have either a big project or a smaller project. Last year, the previous years, it was only a set amount of time. And in the timeline, you would be like, in these days I'll do that, the next few days I'll do that, that week I will go for vacation and stuff like that. So it should be realistic. We don't expect you to be some kind of medium, like there might be problems or something might be incredibly easy, which you will solve things in 2 days that you thought you would need 2 weeks to solve, but yeah. So yeah, there's that. It would be also great if you had a stretch goal part where you're like, if I'm done with all these things, because most of our projects are not enough for, okay, no more comments. Most of our projects are not enough for complete Google Summer of Code project. They're kind of smaller, so you will probably combine issues, and you could be like in your stretch goals, if I'm done with everything and I have like 2 weeks left, I can start working on that or do that or whatever. That's also a plus. So this is one proposal example right here, and there is another proposal example which I find pretty bad. So yeah, this is incredibly small. We expect your proposals to be like here he only talks about the timeline, so yeah, whatever. Yes. Okay, no new comments. I don't have a second screen. I'm on my laptop right now, so I will need to do that. So let's take a look at the projects. First of all, it would be great if you told me which projects interest you, so maybe we can take a better look at them. I'll start now, and by the time I'm finished, you will have probably commented. Yes, okay. So, to anyone new, there is a delay in the stream. I should have set it up as a low latency stream, but I didn't think about it, and also my connection is a bit crappy, so it might even be better like that. Do tell me if you can read what's on screen, because then we will be looking at code, and it's good if you can read the code. So, the project ideas. We have Tuner, we have Xfce for terminal, Xfce for screen shooter, Xfce for panel, and all components. Tuner is the main focus of our Google Summer of Code participation. Last year, Tuner was an even bigger focus. This year we have at least some other apps. Yes, though the first proposed project is use URI to identify bookmarks instead of the MD5 checksum. This should be pretty easy to do, way less probably than 15 hours. You could even probably do that as we are like waiting. You could probably mark this as a newcomer issue and solve that. Bulk rename, Fuller has a bulk renamer, and there is an issue that it's still again easy. We are not going to talk about the most complicated issues. The symbolic icons do have a work in progress implementation. I don't really have a horse in that race, so I can't tell you much about that. The same goes for this. Let's see, what can I talk to you about? I haven't seen anyone interested in this one yet. This is just like a nice to have. Yeah, whatever. We haven't really talked about it too much. Oh, this one, this issue right here about the custom actions actually has an open merge request, which is huge. It's like yeah, 1700 new lines of code. So if you're interested in that, you can go take a look at that. There is a lot of code there, so that's a lot of things to comprehend. Yeah, essentially, if you have used user custom actions, this would allow us to split them. Yes. Yeah, first split them. That's like the main advantage of it. If you go to the merge request, you will see that it has multiple steps. One of which is to split the custom actions to different, like, not really split, like, look at different places for the custom actions. Xfce panel merge plugin. Yes, I do use GNOME as a GUI because I'm on my laptop and my laptop doesn't want to, like, even boot with most distros. So Popos works and I don't care about anything else. Xfce panel merge plugin. Oh, come on, both of these are for Andre. Like, the support to custom actions, I can tell you something about that. Okay, so oh yes, this one. For folders, put the count of containing files into the detailed view size column. Okay, so if you go to Thuner, right here, God damn it, that was a mistake. If you go to Thuner though, right here, you can see that the size column is empty, right? Nothing here. Okay, great. Nothing right here. These have sizes. If you go to, like, what's Nautilus? Yes, you can see that the size has the number of items in there. For that, you will need to. I can see that there is also a work in progress path. Essentially, you would need to create a recursive algorithm that goes inside each folder and counts the items, which shouldn't be too hard to do. The main issue is doing the same thing for remote locations, where there might be a bit of lag or a lot of lag, and our main goal is to not crash Thuner because we are loading the number because we are calculating the number of items in each folder. So you would probably need to do that asynchronously. We will see some things about jobs later. Anything else? Yes, as I said, as I'm writing here, you would probably need to have a separate thread. We have a job scheduler, and you can use jobs for that. Hello. Hi. Yeah. So yeah, we will look into it in a bit, I guess. The ThunerX API. Now the ThunerX API is the extension API for Thuner. So if you have opened the code base, you might have noticed that there are 2 folders with source files, like 3 folders actually, but 2 are the main Thuner folders: Thuner and ThunerX. Thuner is the main application. ThunerX provides an interface for extensions. Now, because we were talking with, I don't remember the name, about the GTK, this is like an issue that does require some knowledge of GTK. Of course, you will be able to, like, look at the existing code and just copy paste stuff from there and learn from there. But yes, this should probably require a decent grasp of GTK and G-object and stuff like that. And there are other ideas for extending the API. There was also an idea for extending the ThunerX API to be able to add new columns in Thuner. So if I open Thuner right here and I go to the details view, you can see that there are these columns and I can go to view and configure the tool, not the toolbar, sorry, this is a work in progress. Configure it here, and we have all these columns that we can enable. There was also an idea to create an API to be able to add the new columns, which would be really useful. And if you're also interested in that, you could like write open an issue for that first, so Alexander can also give you some input and maybe even write a proposal for that issue. Yeah, maybe, if you're interested in something like that. Support for undo operations. Let's see in the comments. Yes, you can, in fact, store it naturally. That casting is probably something that you would do, because if I remember correctly, if I open this, do I have any like super large folders? Can I go here? Okay, you see, it calculated that. But now, if I do anything, it doesn't calculate it again. It calculated it for a split second, but now it does not, so it does cast the results. But still, you will need to calculate them once, at least. So that does take some time. If you have like, folders can have tens of thousands of files, right? So that would take time. But yes, casting would probably be part of the solution. Undo file operations. So let's open Thunar again. I don't know why I'm closing it, but well, anyway, what do we mean? If anyone has a problem where they run Thunar and it doesn't like work with the preferences, you need to run xfconf manually. And now, as you can tell, it opened as a bigger window. What's the issue? Oh, right. So if I go to like documents and create an empty file, and then I delete the empty file, and then I press Ctrl Z, nothing happens, right? Absolutely nothing. If I go to Nautilus, and I'm opening Nautilus because like Casa, Nautilus, Nemo are the same thing, and I don't have Dolphin. Do I have Dolphin installed? No. So if I go like here and do like the same, like go to music, do the same thing, like new folder only, come on, okay, open terminal, that's test.txt, okay, great, delete that, undo, it works, and it even gives me a pop-up right here. This is a pretty useful thing to have in a file manager, in my opinion. I use it regularly. For this, essentially, you would need to have a stack where you save all the file operations, like copy, cut, rename, and move to trash, and not permanently delete, because that is permanent, obviously. Hi, Patrick. Hello. Yes, yeah. So you would need to have a stack somewhere in Thunar, and store there the actions and say like, have structures that are like save an enum, which is the type of the action, a pointer, which is the file, and stuff like that. And then you would create a new shortcut, a new Xfce GTK action entry, which we will look at in a bit, to undo that, right? Right. Now, another thing is the option to expand folders in details view. Does Nautilus have that? I don't remember. No? Is that a no? Nemo has that for sure. Yes, it does have that actually. So here what we want to do is be able to do like this. Okay? That's pretty cool, I guess. Yeah, so this is the other issue. About that, I think that I tried to look into it and see if we can do it by hacking the existing view, the details view. There is an issue. Like you can open the issues and see things. They're pretty interesting. You might be able to do it by extending the details view, which is the existing like class for this. You might need to rewrite the details view, so this is why this is a challenging project. The new view, the pictures view, you can see it at the issue. I don't have an example for it. And yes, Thunar synchronization issues. Thunar, if you open this link, you will see a bunch of issues that are that have to do with tuner not being in sync with the state of the file system. And yes, as Alex says here, you will either need to rewrite or just fix some small things. So, anyone else? What projects are you interested in? Now let's move on to Xfce terminal, which I maintain, so I can tell you everything about it. And let's even go into a little bit more detail about these two, because this should be like, should we go into detail later? I'm not sure. So rewrite the preferences dialog. Let's let's open the Xfce terminal. Great. And preferences. This dialog right here is created using Glade. Glade being this little devil right here, where you can like go here, go terminal, and yeah, here you have Glade. The problem with Glade is that it is a pain to work with, and it makes a bunch of things harder. So what I want is to rewrite the preferences dialog like it is done in Thunar, which, let's open Thunar, not here, I'm sorry. Everything has been, yeah, okay. Let's open Thunar. And you can see the preferences dialog. It looks the same, yeah, yes, very similar, but it's handwritten in Thunar preferences dialog.c right here. It's a pretty big file, but pretty simple. And this allows us to first not have to deal with Glade, and second, be able to access and change things a bit easier code-wise. And this also allows us to very easily use our custom widgets. So yes, that's one of the projects. This should be a pretty simple project to deal with. Essentially, you would look at how Thunar does things. How are the buttons created? How are they saved? Stuff like that. How the dialog appears, how it disappears, stuff like that. And then you would do the same thing for Xfce terminal. Tirilo Silva, please, no, I can't make a screen recorder for Xfce. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have anything to do with screen recorders. You can go and ask for that in Xfce dev. Yes, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Next one is tab restoration outside of Xfce session. So, if you have used Xfce, which most of you probably have, there is a nice feature where you can save your session when logging out and restore the session when logging back in. This is very useful for Xfce systems, and the apps need to support an API, which I don't have right here. Like, at least they need to support it to work properly. And Xfce terminal does that. What it doesn't do is have the ability to restore sessions outside of Xfce. Like, I'm using, like right here, I'm using Xfce terminal in a GNOME environment. And many people use Xfce terminal in LXQT, other people use LXDE, in Mate, wherever, in tiling window managers, floating window managers, wherever. So it would be great if we had the functionality outside of Xfce session. I have created a patch which is working, but it does need to be improved. So yes, a new command must be added to be able to do it from the command line, like something like Xfce for terminal restore and restore a specific save, and stuff like that. So it, like, you can take that and improve on that MR, which already exists. But yes, there is still some synergy that it would be great to have right there. And you can play around with this. You can check out the branch right here, the instructions right here, how to do it, and see it for yourself. Then the final one and the big one for Xfce for terminal. Okay, no new things, great. The big one for Xfce for terminal is adding user profiles. Somebody was wondering what profiles are. Let me show you. Let's open Tilix. Whoop, what's this? I have no idea. Okay, great. How did I do that? Okay, I have literally no idea how I did it. Okay, clear. And let's go to preferences, and we see the profile. Like, you see the preferences right here, a bunch of things. Great. And there's also this profiles thing right here, which has other preferences. These preferences, let's create a new profile and change the color to, like, no, this disgusting little thing. And you can then go here and do that, and then you can open a new tab. Thank you. And the new tab can have the old profile. So we have you see, you can have different preferences for each tab or for each window, stuff like that. This is very useful, and there are many open issues for Xfce terminal. It would be great if somebody took this up. Essentially, what you would need to do is create a way, like, it's not that complicated. Essentially, create a way to save different preference presets for the preferences that make sense. Like, not all preferences should be in profiles probably. Also, so give the user the ability to create different presets of preferences and shortcuts. You would also need to find a good design for this, something that is intuitive, preferably something better than other terminals, but we will see. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, and that's why this is also part of migrating to xfconf is also part of this, because it might prove advantageous to use xfconf, which is the service that is used to store and load preferences for a bunch of Xfce applications, which Xfce terminal doesn't use right now. It uses a simple plain text file. Like, if we go to get it and like go, yes, right here, like, these are the preferences for Xfce for terminal, just in a file. But it might be advantageous to move that stuff to xfconf. So these are the profiles. If you have any other questions for that, you can ask me. Oh, well, let's see. Yes, you can add projects from terminal, more things. You can extend these projects, like the feature set for these projects. You can be like, I want tab restoration to synergize with that and all these things. So that would be more complicated and that would need more time. And you can also like mix and match issues, like take an issue for terminal, 2 issues from tuner. You can do whatever you want. Yeah, you can do that. Or yeah. Which ID do you use to code? For non-Xfce reasons, I use a variety of IDs. For Xfce, I use CLion because it supports makefiles really well. So yeah, I use that. Hi Wellington, by the way. Okay, now let's Xfce for screen shooter. You need to ask Andre about that. I guess that you will need to create something similar to the tuner code, so you have like a really decent basis right there with tuner. It's pretty complicated code, so this shouldn't be really a simple issue. But yeah, there is like a whole thing implemented there. You can find the custom actions code for tuner in the plugins directory because it's implemented as a plugin. Yeah, so there is that. Let's see, what else do I have on my, so Google Summer of Code General project. Oh yes, the accepted students, yes, participants will be required, and it would be good if they would write regular blogs, like weekly, bi-weekly, something like that, where they talk about their progress and the issues that they encountered and stuff like that. That would be great to keep in touch with the community. and have like being able to also get feedback for your work is pretty useful. And then we have two Xfce for panel projects. I have no idea what this is about. And this is about Wayland, which we have been thinking for a little while. And Alexander is the only one probably who has any idea about this project. Yeah, that's probably true. Any other questions? No, so let's go. And now we're going to dive into coding, so do tell me if you can see this, for example. Can you see the letters on the screen? I'll be waiting for a bit for you to write a response. Let's see if anybody has written anything in the IRC tunnel. It doesn't look like it, so yeah, we are safe. Okay, can you see the letters? Yes, great. Now, let me drink a bit of water. Let's see. We want to add a preference, add a shortcut, see some GTK things, do something simple. Tuner issues, Xfce for terminal issues. Okay, so let's start by probably looking at the open. Do you want to start with the preferences? No, we should start with the open issue. Yes. So first of all, this is the Tuner code base. As I said, there's a folder called Tuner where the Tuner source files live, TunerX where the files about extending Tuner are, the plugins directory where there are plugins that use the TunerX API, and then some other things like the examples folder. Okay, let's go into Tuner. So you open Tuner here and you see a bunch of files, and so many files. What I do most of the time is no, we shouldn't do it like that. Yes, we shouldn't do like that. We should do like, yes, Tuner has a lot of files, so yeah. At the start you will probably be unable to exactly find the correct file for what you're looking for, but I'll show you how to navigate things. So let's go at the Xfce Tuner issues. These are the issues with the newcomers label. And let's start with the first one from the bottom, which is an option to show non-hidden folders files first. So we go to Tuner right now, and if I press Ctrl and H, you see there are the normal folders, and then there are the hidden folders, right? Or is it the other way around? Yes, it's the other way around. It's the hidden folders first, and then the normal folders. And we would like to have the option to show the normal folders first and the hidden ones later. I believe that, does Nautilus do that? I have no idea. Yes, that's the default for Nautilus, right? So our default is the opposite, so we would like to have the option to do both things. So first of all, you will need to create a preference for that, which we will show how to do that in a minute. But first of all, you need to find the relevant code. So you open Tuner. Let's see, any questions? Can you zoom in a bit? Okay, a bit larger font. I'll do just that. For settings, I guess. Oh no. No, I don't care about Valkyrie right now. Probably editor. No. Yes, color scheme. Font, yeah, naturally. Font, let's say 15. Oh no, not 1, 15. Apply and open. Let me open a file, mate. This is still tiny. Did it change anything at all? No, it did not. Let me try this once again. As you can see, my PC is dying since. Okay, go here. The color scheme font, that's what I need. 15. Yeah, now it's working. Great. Right? Let me, yeah, hide the sun again. This should be great now. Yes, it seems to be really large. Okay, so let's close this. Let's close that. And we want to take a look at this issue about showing known hidden folders files first. Great. So, how did you go about that? Well, you need to find the code where these things are sorted, right? And you also know that, because you should know that using Control-8 is a shortcut to show or hide hidden files and folders. So we go to the tuner window class, tuner window.c, where most, like a very large part of the code base is, like, it's probably the largest file. And here are most of our shortcuts, right? And so we come here and we're like, show hidden. That's an option right here. We could have also just Control-Shift-F and be like hidden, right? Control-Shift-F in most environments shows you, it searches the entire file system. And if you like scroll a bit, you would see the show hidden option, show hidden. What is it? Is a property? Yes. And you would like show hidden. So let's see that. Let's say that we found this one first. And this is Xfce GTK action entry, right? This is a structure that holds information about actions and shortcuts, accelerators, basically. And we also use these to create menus. So we have this list right here, and there is an enum about this, which this is how we use it. There is a path for it in the accelerators file, a shortcut for it, a primary means control in our case, plus 8s, and then what is written in the menu when you open it. So if I have, let's close that. Yes, close it. And let me open Tuner. And if I go to the view menu, you see the show hidden files right here. And this is exactly what's written here without the mnemonic. And then we have the, let's close that. Then we have the tooltip. And if I go here and hover over that, does it show the tooltip? Ah, yes, it shows that in the status bar. So if I hover it, you can see it right here. Yes, the tooltip. And then we have an icon, which it doesn't have one. And then we have a callback. A callback is essentially a function that is called whenever we press that shortcut, right? So a callback is a function that is called when something happens. And if we go here to that function, tuner window action show hidden, we see that it has one parameter, a tuner window, which is passed automatically. Yes, we shouldn't care about exactly how that it does that. It has to do with GTK accelerator maps and stuff. And we have this is what happens when you press the accelerator, right? Right. And we see that there is the window class has a show hidden member, which I call it a class. C doesn't have classes. It has structs. So yes, it is a class because GObject makes a class out of this, but it's also in C it's a structure, right? So it has the structure has a member called show hidden, and which is inverted, and then we have this GTK function. So how does this work? We tell it GTK in the container reads. It says that do this for everything inside this container. We have a note. We see that the container is notebook selected. If we go to notebook selected, and as you can see the hover, the pop-up right there, notebook selected is a GTK widget, right? Right. If we can find where it is created, right here, is this where it's created? Yes, that's where it's created. And we go here, and we can see that the notebook is a GTK notebook. So let's go to the GTK docs, GTK3 docs at that. GTK notebook. Can we find that? Oh, I'm sorry, we can't find the notebook. New play. Oh, the docs are down. Do I have internet? Yes, I do. Okay, the docs are down, so it seems. That's unfortunate. GTK. Okay, that's unfortunate. You would be able to see that the GTK notebook is actually a child of container, which is a child of GTK widget, which is a G object. So that's why, if we go to show hidden again, that's why we cast it as GTK container, because a notebook is, even though it is not, it's saved as a widget, we save, so we save a notebook in a widget and then we cast the container. This is because C does not support hierarchies, and we do that manually through G object. So that's why we use casts everywhere. So for everything in this container, run the Xfce hidden function, which is this thing right here. And if we click that and go there, we see that this is an interface, which interface says execute the Xfce hidden function of the class that implements the interface. And then if we control plus F that, we can see that TunerView is an interface, so you should have understood that. And you can see that this interface is, like, you see the Xfce hidden thing exists in Tuner list model, and Tuner shortcuts pane, and Tuner side pane, Tuner side view, and a bunch of different things. So that means that a lot of different classes implement that interface, and you will need to go and find which one is the one that actually does the sorting, right? Right. And it is, I believe, this one, Tuner list model. So what did we do? The main thing to take away from this is that for anything, is anybody watching? 4 people. Do we have private struct? And no, things are private by default, so you can call functions you can, like, a children inherits functions, but there are no, like, protected members. So if you go to the tuner window thing, you can see that, where is it? You see, these are the private members, right? It inherits from GTK window right here. That's what this means. It means that your parent is a GTK window. These are the members of tuner window. And is there a public part? No, there is no public part. In another class that does have a public part, which probably would be Tuner standard view. Yes, Tuner standard view does have a public part, so these are the public members. And then we do this little trick right here to also have private members. So we don't have protected members. You cannot, like, see the members of your parent class. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And we have private and public functions like normally. Yes. So the main thing to take away from this is that for anything that has to do with the UI, you can find the relevant code, the related code, by just searching the text, essentially, right? So if we, like, want to see for the next issue, if we go here, and let's see, like, remove date deleted from the column configuration dialog. That's a spelling mistake right here. You will need to do, what you will need to do is be like column configuration. Yeah, right. So configure columns right here, and see, like, what does this say? Like, choose the order of information to appear in the detailed list view. So you will, like, choose the order of information. And you can see that this is the file that deals with the column editor. Funnily enough, it's also called Tuner column editor, so you should be able to do that. You should also be able to find it in the side pane. But you can also find most things that have to do with the UI by just searching the text, their tooltip or their name. Right? So for that issue, what we want is to remove the date deleted option. So let's open that and go here, configure columns, and you see the columns, and there's also this column right here, which makes absolutely no sense for most folders other than the trash folder, because as you can see here, they deleted unknown because the file is not deleted actually, right? So for that, you would first need to find how do columns appear, how they are made visible, and then just delete that specific column. And to do that, well, let's see. It's probably somewhere around here. Yes, there is an attribute that makes columns visible or invisible, as far as I can tell. So if we no, that's a different thing. So this is not for the entries, excuse me. Another little neat trick that you can do is set up the GTK inspector and to find how things are exactly created, press Ctrl Shift and D. This is a different application that you need to install, and go here, and then you can see how the hierarchy of the widgets, what's it like, and you can also change it in real time. But this can help you understand exactly how things work and know what to look for. So what we would need to do essentially is find where not the buttons are, but where the columns are inserted. And what's happening is that this class plays around with the UI, and the tuner column model class plays around with the actual columns, right? But what we would like to do is go to the UI and just manually say that we don't want the date deleted class to appear here. I can't tell you how to do that, that's for you to find out, but that's the general idea. You want to go in here, find where things are rendered, so they're rendered with these renderers. Let me find this right here, and remove the tuner column thing. We could even maybe be able to see it by just going to every renderer ever. There should be a function that populates this. There is a function that populates it for the what's called the toolbar thing. There is no function that populates it here, so it's a bit harder to find. But I'm certain that we should be able to do this. So this is where the tree view is created, and these are the columns, and these columns, yes, and these columns have renders, and at some place we tell it to take the columns that exist in the model and show them there, and I can't find it right now because I haven't really looked into it. So yes, next one. Let's not stop going forward. The other thing, and this should also be pretty simple. If we go here, is anybody still watching? Am I alone now? Oh no, I'm not. So if you go here, and this is the long press on history reaction button is broken. What does this mean? That means that we want to go to tuner, and if I go to desktop and I left click here, nothing happens. If I go to here and left click, you can see the history. So that's what we want to do. For that, I have commented, because I did look into that one, I have commented the Nautilus source code for this one, which you can see in the link. But basically, not only the link, you can see the exact commit where they did that. So you need to look at the GTK gesture API and see what they did, and pretty much do the same thing for us. So yeah, this one you just should go here, look how they implement that, how the API works, and do the same thing for tuner window. And you're probably going to do that in the window class. Yes, because this is where we create our toolbar as far as I'm concerned. So you should go to the window class and essentially implement, if I go to the right toolbar, not this one, not this one, this is where the toolbar is created, right? Right here in the window class. And this is the initialization function, essentially the constructor for the window. So in there are initialization and finalize functions, which are essentially the constructor and the destructor. And this is generally where we create all our widgets. And you can find most things by just searching, and there you go, location toolbar. So for this one, you need to come into our window and also look at the Nautilus commit and pretty much do the same thing for us. The menu entry to toggle thumbnails on specific directories is a more interesting one. For this one, we want to be able to disable thumbnails in the exact folder where they in one folder, not like generally. And for this one, and there are two mentioned MRs right here, which you can look at. The one that implements per directory settings generally, and one that implements them for the zoom level. And you can go here and take a look at what I did to implement this for zoom levels. So per directory zoom levels, and pretty much do the same thing for thumbnails. So you would need to look at how thumbnails are disabled, and to look at that, you would go to, once again, run Thunar, go to the preferences, show thumbnails always. So like if I search for show thumbnails or local files only, better, like let's search for thumbnails and go to the preferences, because this is a preference. No, I want to go to the preferences, please. Go to the preferences. So I have the preferences dialog, which is the UI, and the preferences file, which is where the preferences are saved. And go to thumbnails. And as you can see here, we have a property, which is the preference. And this is the name, and this is an enum, and this is the default value. And you can search for this name in the entire directory, and yeah, as I can see, yes, you will need to, yeah, this is a bit weirder than expected. Essentially what it does is this one binds the preference, which is the one that I'm showing you here. It binds the value of that, right? With the value of, no, mistake, of the value of the factory that actually creates the things. So you will need to go in there and probably change that, or create a, like, tell it to not do that whenever, like if we go to the factory class, which is factory class, what is it? Thunar icon factory. Thunar icon factory should have an option to load icons, probably. Yes, it did have an option to load icons. Yes, it has the load icon function, or somewhere around here there will be an option that requests for a new thumbnail to be created. That happens using a DPass API. So essentially we ask for it and it happens. Thunar doesn't really create thumbnails. Oh yes, right here, this is where we are. Yeah, great. So if we go here, this is the, so it binds the other thumbnail mode with this parameter. And if we search for this here, not for this, for that, we can probably, okay. And then this is just bound and requested by somebody else. So then you would need to go and see which one gets the property for that, or you could just create like a breakpoint right here and see whoever requests that. So eventually, by doing that, by just going from one place to another, you will arrive at the code where thumbnails are requested, and you will need to tell it in this folder, check if the folder has been disabled for thumbnails, and if such is the case, don't create thumbnails. to just do nothing. Let's see. And after that, we are going to finally create shortcuts, or we could just do that. So this one we already have an MR for. One of you created it, and we have private struct. No, one of you did create that. So once again, I had marked an MR, and in this MR, merge request is the one where I implemented the status background customization, and we wanted to also have a date deleted option. So what you would need to do is go here, right click here, and you see the possible customization of the status bar. And what you would need to do is once again look at the MR or just search around the code base and pretty much do the same thing that I did. So what did I do back then? And what did our friend right here do? Let's close these things. You look at my code right here. And we do a bunch of things. And like that, you can see exactly where the code that you're interested in is, and change things around. So since our viewership numbers are starting to plummeting, let's go in and create a new shortcut and create a new preference. Let's go. So create a new shortcut first. We will create a new shortcut for tuner window to get our feet wet. So as we said before, to do that, first of all, we create a new Xfce GTK action entry. And the shortcuts are not only in tuner window. Tuner window might be like the largest class, but there are other classes. We have tuner window, tuner views, a lot of views. We have the tuner view, which is our interface. We have the tuner standard view, which is like the mother of most views. We have the tuner details view, which is the least one. This one right here. This is tuner details view, as in here, right here. So the views have to do with like the big areas where files show up. And because the tuner details view is a child of the tuner standard view, once again, you can see that tuner standard view, underscore parent underscore. So you can cast the details view to the standard view and it will work. It is able to be used as a standard view. And what did I mean to do? So yes, we have shortcuts here, we have shortcuts in tuner window, we have shortcuts in tuner standard view, we have shortcuts in tuner launcher. Launcher is a class that has shortcuts and actions that don't really fit in window. So let's create a new shortcut. What should our new shortcut do? Let's say that our new shortcut, well, it can do something that somebody already does, like, let's see, so we can do something, oh yes, no, we will search for something really specific, right? So let's just create a shortcut to search for serious. Okay, our shortcut will do just that. It will search for serious. So the first thing that we need to do is create a new entry right here, which requires a new enum. So tuner window action serious. Okay, and then we go here. We copy that right here, and we are like, we want to refer to that with, oh no, that's a YouTube thing. Okay, let's copy that correctly this time. Is anybody? Yes, great, now we have viewership. So, first of all, to create our new shortcut, we need to be able to refer to it. So we use this enum. So we'll refer to it through that one. We wanted to have a path in the accelerators file, and so let me show you the accelerators file. I didn't know what it was for a long time, and knowing what it is might prove useful. If you go to config, and then we go to tuner, and then we go to axles SCM, this is where all the accelerators are, right? Right, so yes. So accelerators are essentially shortcuts. We need to have a unique path, so we're gonna call it serious again. Oh, caps lock, okay. We need to have an accelerator. This is the default accelerator. We can change accelerators, and there is shortcuts editor which resides in libxfce for UI, because common components we place in libraries. So there is libxfce for UI, libxfce for util, Xso, yeah. So our shortcut will be control S, I guess. Does anybody use control S for anything? I hope not. Yes, it will have an icon. Why not? Let's let it have an icon. So if we didn't want it to have an icon, it would be a GTK menu item. And now it's an image menu item. If you want it to be a check button, it would be the check menu item. You can see all these things here. So we have the menu items, image menu item, check boxes, and radio boxes, like radio buttons, yeah. Search for serious, and this is like what we'll see. And this is the tooltip. Let's just say serious. And here goes our little icon. Or does it now? Yes, it should. Why doesn't search for files have an icon? But what? This should have an icon. I have no idea. Okay, that's interesting. And let's say that our icon is you need to have a, like, there are specific names for the icons, so let's just copy the go next symbolic thing, because we don't know the icons right now. And to end, we need to create a callback, which, as I said, callback is the function that will be called essentially, and we also need to cast it as a callback because we need to do that. So we go at the top because we prefer to have our local functions here, and create a new function, static void. It's static because it only like resides in this file. Sooner window action serious, and we pass it a tuner window because the accelerators automatically get the callbacks of the accelerators automatically receive an instance of the class that called them, yes. That's right. So if our accelerator resided in standard view, for example here, here, all these accelerators, if we go at the callbacks, where are they? Here, like go here, select all, you can see that there is a tuner view. It could also be a tuner standard view, we don't care about it, but the standard view is also a view, so it still functions. Yes, so we have created the new function, and now let's just do this right. No, I shouldn't do it like this. That's a terrible idea, really. Okay, so I'll go a little bit. No, I can't. I could do that. Okay, I'll go here because I'm a good person. And let's say now we want to search for serious, right? Okay, so how are we going to do that? We need to see how the search happens. So you go to that entry here, you find its callback, and no, we want to search for serious, please, not just search. You go to the callback right here, and we see that what happens is that we call another function, the start open location, with a search prefix. What is a search prefix? The search prefix is something, it's just a string that says search. Okay, so if I do the same thing, just copy that, but change the string, I should be able to search for serious. Okay, does this mean that I need to do this even lower probably. Okay, then let me do it at the bottom then. You will see this macro right here first. No, I can't do it. Why can't I do it? It's void. I'm sorry. Excuse me. It's supposed to be a Boolean, right? I am so sorry. I tell you why this needs to be a z-boolean. Z-booleans are essentially like an integer that changes values between 0 and 1, but glib provides that, so that's great. So we can have booleans. Do remember that you need to write false and true as macros. So what does this here mean? This means that if our cast fails, right, because we tell it that this is a tuner window, right, but we just tell it that it's C, it doesn't understand inheritance, it has absolutely no idea. So essentially everything is a void pointer that we just throw around. So what we do is check, is this really a window? Like, is this a window for sure? If it's not, we messed up, just we failed and return. If we didn't mess up, that's great. And we can run our code. And as I said, the main problem is that you need to cast everything. Like here, you cast a status bar. Here, we cast a window. Here, we cast a G object. Whatever is the required thing, because if I remove this right here, like remove the cast, and any minute now we should get a squiggly line under there, or at least I hope so. Normally we would get a squiggly line. Right now we are not getting it, which is unfortunate. Can I do that here? Please? Yes, as you can see, there is a warning here which tells us the pointers are incompatible. One is a tuner window, the other is GTK window. Tuner window inherits from GTK window, so it is a GTK window, but the compiler doesn't know that, right? So you need to cast everything. Right, and so instead of passing that, we want to pass search serious, right? And then we return true, because true means that we handled that key press. So I pressed Ctrl+S, I did my thing. Do not continue propagating the event, so don't allow other things to use the event. Okay, and let's try this. Okay, we are building right now. Are there any questions? I didn't see really. Okay, so if I press Ctrl+S, hooray! We are setting for serious right now. This is like the most useless thing ever, because there is no thing called serious right here. We can do that here. And now we found something. So this is how you add shortcuts, right? But not only that, in a lot of instances, you will see that these things are also used to add UI elements. So if I go, let's see how like the menu bars are created, right? And to see that, we open Thunar again. Let's open Thunar. And let's say that we want to add the serious search here to the Go menu, right? And we see search for files. So we once again go to search right here, and we search for this enum, right? And we see it's being used here in this function, which creates the Go menu. So if we just copy and paste that, this essentially means create a menu item from this Xfce GTK action entry. The GTK action entry in question is Thunar window action search. Pass it a window because it uses a window as a parameter, and add that to this menu. The menu in question being the view menu. And if I do that and then write serious right here and restart Thunar, and let's see, search for serious, and I can click that, and it also works as it should. So we use Xfce GTK action entries both for shortcuts and for creating our menus. Let's see if there are any questions. No questions, nothing at all. 3 people online. Okay, that's lit. Now, the next thing that we can do is create a preference. It is likely that you will need to create a shortcut, that's why I showed to you, and that you will also need to create like a menu entry or something. Should we create a preference, or... Oh yes, we should create a preference and also show it in the preferences dialog. That should be pretty good. So let me just remove all my changes. It's that. Oops. Okay, great. Let's go to the preferences now. Right here. So once again, we take a look at an existing preference, like this one, and we copy and paste that because that's what we do. Great. And then we see this. So we use the enum first of all to like refer to them. So we need to create a new enum for that. And what should the preference be? Like, you know what? MISC always serious. We will do a preference that will, if it is enabled, we will search for serious. If it is not enabled, we will do a normal search, right? Right. We have seen how the search works. So we create a new enum value right here. Serious. Auto completed. Great. MISC serious and MISC serious. And the default value will be false because we normally want to search for other things other than serious. And then what does this mean? This means that we will refer to it using either this preference thing or this string right here. This is how it's going to be saved in the file. The third value, what is the third value? The blurb, I have no idea what that is. This is the default value, and this tells us that we can both like read and write this preference. Great, because naturally we want our preferences to both be written and read naturally. Okay, so we have the preference. Now we need to go to the preferences dialog and actually add it. So how can we do that? We can search once again for this one and see where it is in the preferences dialog. It is right here. And what does this do? Okay, so if I copy and paste that, just copy and paste it. Great. Okay. And let's say search for serious. So we create, like, what do we do here? We create a new row. That's okay. And we create a new row, but just telling it that we'll see how. We tell it create a new check button with this written on it. The mnemonic thing is this little. No, is there a mnemonic here? What? Why do we do it like this? No idea. So, oh yes, probably. No, we shouldn't be doing it. It's okay. Even if this is for translating. Even if we didn't do it with mnemonic, it should be okay unless it can get a label. Yes, so we tell it create a new button that says this right here, near it, and bind the properties or this property right here, the MISC vertical split pane, which we don't want this one, we want our new property. So MISC serious, bind this one with the active property of the button. So if we can go to the docs now, GTK3 docs, please. Anybody? Yes. If you got the docs now and go to GTK button, there are no questions, right? Like, no. If you want anything or want to see something else or want to ask something, just ask away. Because I'm just here showing you random things which I use daily, but you might not use this at all because you're not interested in buttons and preferences and stuff like that. If we go to the GTK button, always use the API version 3, like we were in GTK 3. You can see the constructors, the methods, the signals, and the properties. So the signals are emitted by the button when various things happen. So you can connect to the clicked signal, which tells us that whenever you click the button, do something with a callback again, like we did for the shortcuts. So if we see the signal connect here, or we can do it like clicked. Let's just do it like a button because we like buttons. Let's find a button, this button right here. So we tell it, whenever this button is clicked, call this function right here. And the null is don't pass it anything other than the button, because as I said, the callbacks also take the value, an instance of the thing that called them, right? So right here you tell it button clicked, which means this event right here, the clicked event, which passes a GTK button, and execute this function right here, which does whatever it does. So the other thing that you can do, other than use signals to connect, you can bind properties once again. So binding properties synchronizes their value. In this case, bidirectionally. You can do it. You can do it unidirectionally, right? And it's also synced on creation. That's probably what this means. So we want to synchronize the value of the button with the value of the preference. So this is how we do it. The tooltip text, whatever, and then we tell it to attach this to the grid. We cast the grid because the grid is a GTK widget, so we need to cast it as we said before, just like we need to cast to GObject the preferences. And then we tell it to add this button, add this column, add this row, and with this size, with that size, and everything, every widget is hidden by default, so you need to tell it to show, to present it. So we use GTK widget show to show the button, and if we go to tuner once again, everything should work really, or at least hopefully. Will it work? Why shouldn't it really? Let's go to the preferences, and where is it? Search, what did I write here? What is that? Search for serious. Let's try this again. Right now it doesn't do anything, right? Right now we're just creating a preference. We did that in tuner preferences, and now we are adding it to the preferences dialog. So we're seeing how to create preferences, how to sync properties, and how to add widgets. Search for serious, we can enable that, and if we close that and open it again, it should be yes, great. Any questions? No questions. Now we want it to do something, right? Like, we don't want it to be completely useless. We saw that the search code, like the search action, because everything that has a shortcut has Xfce GTK action entry, and most of those reside in the window class. So tuner window, and if you remember, there is right here tuner action search, and this calls this thing. So what do we want to do? We want to, and we saw that if we pass search, I don't remember what's that called, the two dots, and the space, and then a query, we search for that query. So we want to do the exact, we want to do this. We want to either do the default thing, so just add the search prefix and to no query, or we want to add the search prefix and the serious query whenever we press the button. So how do we do that? We go to the callback that gets called, the function that gets called whenever we press the Control F shortcut, and we tell it, read the preference. So, and if that preference is true, so gboolean serious equals GObject get. Okay, and so I'm writing from, but I can also see it right here, right? So if I'm like, we do preferences and search for that, and right here we see a GObject get, and what does this mean? Go to that GObject and get that preference, right? It does not need to that property. It does not need to be a preference. GObjects can have properties for whatever. You just create properties like we did here, exactly like that, and then you can either synchronize them or read them. So if read the property that has this name and save its results here. So what I'm doing is wrong. I need to go here and say serious and save it in serious. Great. And then we're gonna tell it if serious is false, do the normal thing, right? Else we want to watch the world burn by searching for serious once again. and we do search serious, right? Right. Okay. No question still. Great. Yes. Let's go here and press Ctrl F, and we are setting for serious, and that's probably because the preference is set to true. If I set to false, we have the normal search, right? So what did we see? We saw how to create properties, how to bind them, which means synchronize their value with another property. We saw how to get and set them. You can also set them like the object set and set the property. We saw how shortcuts work. Is there anything else? We saw how the casting works. So yes, you cast things, like that's just how this works. If you don't cast them, they don't work. And we saw some things about the classes. Is there anything else that you would like to have a look at? Like what else do I use? Like most of the other things are just, you know, the program logic. Like these are the main things that have to do with GTK, right? Yes, preferences, dealing with the UI, with the widget. We also create some widgets. We could also try create. Yes, we can also try to connect a signal, right? So let's try to do something interesting. We want to create. Oh yes, we're just gonna, whenever we click the serious preference, we're gonna say something. Okay, that's gonna be lit. So what do we need to do once again? We need to use the gsignal connect function, and we can see how that works by just signal connect going whenever and getting that, and you will see that there are two versions of this, gsignal connect and gsignal connect swapped. Button here, clicked here, and I'm gonna change these soon null and null. What's the difference between these two? Essentially, what the gsignal connect does is connect a callback to a signal, right? Yeah. So whenever this signal is emitted, you do something. Together with the properties, these are the main things of like GUI programming. What's the difference here? The difference is the order in which things are created. So we will not actually pass null. We will pass like, what should we? I want like something really random. We're gonna say something gs and like hi. Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's what we are going to do. I got normal here and swapped here, right? And this is also something that really confused me in the beginning. The goal is the same, but what the difference is the order of which the parameters are set. So we need to create callbacks, right? And let's go up there. Up, and create the callbacks, and we're like static void sooner that's sooner signal normal, and since we are connecting to the clicked signal, we are going to get a GTK widget button. Is it GTK widget? We go look here, press clicked. It would also be a GTK button immediately. Yes, that's what we're gonna do. GTK button, and then we have a string, right? I just created a car, and zcar is the same thing pretty much. Just use whatever. Message, right? And then I will do the same thing, but swapped. So we swap the button parameter with the message parameter. And that really is like the main difference. I'm searching for this. Oh, what did I do? How did I do that? No. Ah, okay, no, okay, I don't want that to happen. So what it actually does, oops, is that this is now the correct order of using the parameters. And let's just print these things. Printf control-s message and printf message. And then we need to actually go and place the callbacks right here, normal, and swapped, right? No. Okay, so now we go to the preference dialog and we click this, and you see our prints right here. So the main difference between these two is that one has the arguments in the normal fashion and the other has them swapped. That's it, pretty much. Well, this probably covers the vast majority, like these are the GTK features that I use daily, pretty much these things. There are also like data structures in glib, some various interesting and useful functions, but these are like the main things that you do. You create widgets, you use signals, you use properties, and then you just write the logic for the things that you want to do. What else? There's really nothing else. I believe that I pretty much showed you whatever I could. Since you don't have any like more specific questions, I can't really do much more. And that's it. That was extremely long. It's 1.5 hours. Oh my god. And yeah. How should we grab focus for UI elements? Oh yeah, now that's a question. How should we grab focus for UI elements? When do you need to do that, really? Like, oh yeah, that, you know what? Yes, that's interesting. That the events are pretty interesting. So let's see the events. And essentially, what you would probably do, there are like various focus grabbing functions. Like if I go here and say no, focus, yes, like GTK widget grab focus right here, right here. So you can go to the documentation and just write something, and you will probably get what you want. Another interesting thing is the key press events. So if we can look at that, we create shortcuts automatically, as you can see. Like you create an entry in one of these lists, in one of these arrays, and the shortcut is created, which is great. The other way to do these things is to manually handle the shortcuts in code, right? So for that to happen, we need to go to one of the, and here, like for example, that's off topic, but this is the class initialization, where essentially we are manually doing what an object-oriented language would do for us. So we tell it that this is a child of G object, so the match the get property function to tuner window get property, the set property function of G object to tuner window set property. So essentially we are doing object-oriented programming by ourselves, right? We're just doing it ourselves. What do we want to do? Like the events. So propagate event. Now, yes, here. The windows have, and a lot of other widgets have various events, some of which have to do with key presses or button presses. Here you can see that we are actually manually handling these events. Normally they just get passed around to the higher level. Here we are handling them manually. So if we go to the propagate key event function, you can see how some things happen. Like the tab accelerator, for example, cannot be added the way we add most shortcuts. So we go here and we deal with them manually. So if I wanted to like not let the F key, for example, to be used by someone for some reason, I would go here and I would tell it like, if you are the F key, get the key event, and like we would actually get the key value because we would need a GTK event key, not a normal event. So I will need to do this cast right here. And I can actually show you something more interesting than that. But if I go in the git checkout alt menu, yes, that's probably what it's called. So what I'm doing here is manually handling the alt key to show the menu bar if it is hidden. So I say if the event type, the event is the event passed from the key event signal when it is emitted. If the event is of the type of the event is of GTK key release, so it happens when we release the key, and the key is a modifier, and that specific modifier is mod1 mask, which means left out most of the time, do something, right? So I could just like remove all this and say that if I release something, printf released key. Yeah, so that's like the other pretty useful thing to know, how these events exist and how you can like change them for when you're pressing keys. So let's go. And will it build? Yes, eventually. And just like if I press anything, you see, not okay. If I press anything, it gets captured by that stupid little thing right there. But if I press here, I get this release key prints. And I could also just return true, and then nothing would happen ever. Search entry control F. How should we grab focus for UI? What does this? In that case, with the control F thing, what does happen is that yes, we are passing the focus. You can see that like the code is not really complicated. If you go here and then you go to search, and then you see the open location, and this is where the searching happens. We request this entry, and somewhere around here we tell it to get the focus. So this is probably tuner location entry accept focus, and what it does is GTK widget grab focus. So you grab focus by just using this function. As you can see here, like the path entry, which is it's probably like called GTK path entry or something. It has other events like focus out event. Yeah, so as you can see, like most of it is just connecting events and properties, and then the logic of the individual components. And using that's pretty much it. Anything else? If you have nothing else, we are off to the races. We have reached a peak of 11 concurrent viewers. That's pretty strong, if I may say so myself. Oh no. Did I like it? Yes. Anything else? Since I don't see any like is there anything else? Okay. While I'm waiting for you to say anything else, I can also show you where the recursive search MR code is. Yes, okay. I'll show you where the recursive search MR code is because that I know for sure, and I will also show you for the terminal. Can I go to terminal? Can I go to terminal, please? yes, issues, newcomers. Oh yes, so for example, you're now equipped to solve this issue right here, where I want you to make convert a preference to a shortcut. So you would go in the code base, search for this preference, remove it, and essentially add that code as an accelerator. All right, and I have written a comment in there that explains it. And when we want the preference to disable recursive search, and since we have played around with search a lot, the search, the actual search happens when in the update search thing, which in turn calls set searching for standard view. So how search works is we create a search entry, and Thunar window and its widget children handle the UI, and the actual searching is done in the standard view and in its model. So GTK has this paradigm where you have views like GTK3 view and models for them. So you have one class, one instance who has the data and does like the various calculations and things, and another class which just shows the data. So if you go to standard view set searching, you can see that what it actually does is tell the folder to search, and Thunar list mode set folder, if the search query is empty, just gets the file for the folder and loads them and shows them. Otherwise, what happens is that we search for the recursively search for files in this folder matching the query. And this recursion happens in a different job, so that is in a different thread to not slow down Thunar. And this happens using the job API, so Xo job lands. We use Xo for jobs, which is a library of Xfce. And so we create a job right here, and then we launch it. And if you go like to that function, you see that the job is created, and that job has these arguments, and the actual function is search directory, and search directory calls search folder, and search folder is at last where the recursive search happens. And this is where you must go and have the preference, like this is where the preference will be like if like this is where the recursion happens. And if the preference is set to always, like we always go inside the folders. If the preference is set to never, we never go inside folders, so we never go in here, like we never call recursively other things. This should be a pretty simple MR to create, so we have played around with search a lot. And that's pretty much it, I believe. Goodbye. This is a huge stream. I will probably need to edit it down and like cut all the parts where I'm babbling and only like mark the useful parts. And that's it. Have a nice day, and goodbye, and see you in Element and Matrix and IRC. And I'm waiting for your questions or your feedback, or yeah, anything really. I'm mainly waiting for your merge requests and your proposals. Well, bye bye.